Hello, everyone. I'm Katie Schwing, a member of WIL, the Women in Leadership and Learning Committee with the Brookings Area Chamber of Commerce. As you may be aware, March is designated as Women's History Month. The WIL Committee wanted to take some time this month to showcase just a few of the many wonderful women in our community who own their own businesses. We are doing a short segment called Women Owned Wednesdays, where each Wednesday in the month of March will showcase a female entrepreneur. This week's guest is Carrie Kuhl, owner of UpFrame Creative. UpFrame Creative originated as a division of Hitch Studio beginning in 2014, and in July of 2019, Carrie branched off as its own business. Carrie grew up in DeSmet, South Dakota, and she currently lives in Brookings with her husband, Jason, her two children, Maxon and Riley, and Hannah, their family dog. Outside of work, Carrie enjoys running and being outdoors as much as possible. She's also passionate about photography. When I asked Carrie to describe her personality, she admitted that most find her to have a calm demeanor, but she truly feels like the swan, calm on the outside, but paddling like crazy under the water. Carrie, thank you so much for joining me today. Can you tell us a bit about UpFrame Creative?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think of UpFrame Creative as what I like to call kind of a boutique agency, a boutique design agency. And that just means that we are small and mighty. It is myself and I have a part-time employee, Taylor Livingston. And between the two of us, we take care of over 40 clients. Um, and the things that we do for them is website design, branding, logo design, any type of graphic or print design, basically any type of design that you would need, we will help with. And our focus is mainly on small businesses and entrepreneurs. And so we don't think of ourselves as like a complete one-stop shop. We are here basically for what you need. Um, to help with kind of the small things and the larger things. But beyond that, if we like to say, if you can graduate us, we will point you to kind of like that next step of a larger agency when you get to that point.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Can you tell us a little bit about what made you decide to start your own business?
Yes. So I actually worked at Daktronics here in Brookings for over 10 years. And I was in a few different departments. I started in marketing, went into Keyframe. It was called back then, but I think it might be creative services now. And was an animator there, kind of grew in my role as account exec and kind of creative director, and was doing less and less design work. And that is where my true passion lies. And so I found myself kind of reaching for freelance projects and trying to find ways to fill my creative cup and helping people with their design needs. And that freelance stuff kind of kept growing and growing and growing with referrals and happy customers. And it just grew to the point where it kind of made sense for me to consider taking a step away and seeing if I could make a go of running my own business. But I was really scared to do that by myself. And I had decided to go part-time at Daktronics. And I remember it was kind of like, I felt like I was just dipping my toe into being an entrepreneur because I was hesitant. I had a 1.5-year-old little boy at the time. And I was just like, does this make real sense in my life? And then it just took a friend of mine, Renee Bauman, who I actually started Hitch with, reaching out to me and saying, hey, I'm moving to Brookings and I do all of the things that you do in your freelance business. What if we combined forces and just did this thing together? And it was like the perfect thing to push me into being an entrepreneur, and just having that support from someone else was kind of that tipping point I needed to kind of get me in gear and decide whether or not what I wanted to start a business. And oh my goodness, we have had so much fun together. We have expanded in our first space like 3 times because we were growing so big, and then moved into a new building and expanded that, and things just went crazy for a little bit. And so we just had to take a step back and look at each other and say, is what we're doing making sense? Is it more about us being best friends and business partners and not wanting to leave each other versus like having a business that actually makes sense, because at that point she was 100% weddings, I was 100% design stuff, and then we had our retail store. So we weren't truly mixing our business together at that point anymore. We just grew to the point where we had to split our focus. And so that was kind of like the reality check we needed to say, it probably makes more sense if we aren't business partners at this point. So that was it was just a crazy journey, and all the pieces fell into place at the right time. And I think that's a part of being an entrepreneur, is that you just have to see where the road takes you and be flexible and ready to make change when you need to.
Awesome. Thank you for that. What has been your favorite thing about owning your own business?
Oh man, my absolute favorite thing about what I do in my business is that I get to help other entrepreneurs. And so I love that, because it kind of fills a mentoring piece in me, because I have been through some of the beginning stuff that's been really hard to figure out. And so when someone comes to me and they're just starting a business, like seeing the light in their eyes and they're excited, they have this idea, that is so fun for me. And then for me to be able to be a part of that with them and kind of like being a small piece in their journey is what I absolutely love.
Awesome. Now, what has been the hardest thing about owning your own business?
It's all hard. I think I think that when you own a business, you have to be passionate about either being a business owner or what you do in your business. Otherwise, it's it just it's a constant struggle and a constant fight. Um, I think that the hardest thing for me is separating the emotion of who I am from the business that I own, just because it's for me, it's all tied up. And what I do is design, and it's a creative thing. And so it's very much a part of my heart. And like I create something for someone else, and if they don't like it, that's okay, but it's still kind of, tied to me a little bit. And so for me, owning this type of creative business, that's probably one of the hardest things, is kind of like being able to separate the two.
Do you think that there are unique challenges that you face as a woman owning a business that perhaps a man wouldn't?
Um, I haven't had a specific instance that I can point to where I could say that it was because I'm a woman. But that question reminded me of something that I saw. Gosh, I can't remember when it was. It was recently. It was a news story that Savannah Guthrie was doing on high school girls during the pandemic, and the struggles that they're having with school, that I think that ties really well into this conversation. And that was that one of the girls mentioned that just because she is a girl, she feels like she has to work way harder because she's a girl to like either prove herself or do a good job or whatever. And I think that that is just ingrained in us as women, um, from the beginning. Like this is a high school girl feeling that way. And I feel that way in my business, that I have to work way harder than everyone. And, it made me think, is it because I am a woman that I feel that way? And I think that there's definitely something to be explored in that area, that women do feel like they have to work twice as hard to, make it the same distance as, maybe a man does, or maybe it's that doors open a little bit easier for them. So I haven't specifically had that happen in my business, but I can definitely relate to it in other aspects of my past life, my past, jobs and things like that.
Awesome. What advice would you give to someone who's looking to start their own business?
I would say the best piece of advice I could give is to find find your tribe, or find your group of other business owners that can be your mentor, can talk you down off the ledge when you are stressed and crazy. And I think that is one of the things that has helped me um, be successful in owning a business, is that sometimes the people closest to me, like my family or even my husband, they don't fully understand the things, the day-to-day things that I struggle with or that happen in my business. They can't relate. They try to, but it's impossible. They're not in my shoes. So finding that group of people, men or women or whoever it is, whether they are local or not, but just that can fill your shoes, that know exactly what you're talking about when you are stressed about something, or are worried about an aspect of your business that isn't working, or talking through those ideas. I think that is truly 100% a game changer for any business owner.
That sounds like a really great idea.
Mhm.
How do you balance your work and home life? You mentioned wanting to start your own business when you had a 1.5-year-old, and now you have 2 kids.
Yeah, it must be the age, because I think that my daughter was 1.5 when I broke off and did, or maybe she was not even one when I started UpFrame. So maybe I just like to do it when my kids are young. But yeah, so I don't think there is a balance. I don't think it's possible. I think there's a really good analogy that's going around the internet right now is, and I can't remember who it's by, but it talks about having, juggling balls, and some of them are glass and some of them will bounce. And you have to decide which ones are okay to let bounce and which ones you can absolutely not drop. And I feel like that is the perfect idea, is that sometimes certain things in your life will be the glass balls and you cannot let them drop, and other times they will be the balls that can bounce, and it will be okay if you give them a minute to bounce and then catch them. But I think that it changes it with like different times in your life, and when you different ages of kids, or if you don't have kids, or just like just the different growth periods in your life. I think those things all change, and I think the best way you can balance is to be flexible and give yourself grace when maybe you're not at your best.
That's such great advice. I think we could all handle a little bit more flexibility and grace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Carrie, thank you so much for taking some time and chatting with me today. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much. It was so fun to chat with you too.
All right.